It's February 28th, day 39, and I am reporting to you live from the reality TV version of the apocalypse. I am certain of that now. I cannot. We have a show today, kids. Okay. Obviously, the top story, I'm sure most of you have heard, is about the absolute shit show that occurred in the White House today between Zelensky, Trump, and Vance. Trump and Vance essentially were just, I don't know if they were wearing like earpieces and Putin was talking directly through them or what, but they were going after Zelensky hard. They even insulted what he was wearing. It was bizarre. They did some serious damage to the reputation of the United States today. I really wish we could somehow telegraph to the rest of the world, like, this does not represent the majority of Americans, but it's hard to convince them of that when it appears as though Trump has won the election. I will never for a solitary second believe that. And by the way, if you go to Google right now and you start looking into election interference in the United States, there's more and more data that's being released that shows like the data doesn't make any sense. It's not messy enough. It's not normal election data. I'm sorry, like they also stood on a stage and said that they interfered with the election. So there is that as well. In any case, Russian state media was also present in the White House during this meeting. We have been infiltrated by Russia very successfully. It was highly successful. What Putin did was highly successful. And his takeover is essentially official unless something intervenes. It just is the truth. Obviously, Zelensky left without signing the documents about the exchange of minerals, which frankly, even that is us bullying Ukraine. And I know that Zelensky is, again, doing what he's doing, trying to save his country because he doesn't care. He doesn't have an ego. He doesn't give a shit about himself. He even went so far as to, after being humiliated and screamed at and just bizarrely insulted and blamed for things that are absolutely not his fault, on the world stage when we are supposed to be allies with Ukraine, Zelensky came out and made a statement and said that yes, today was bad, but that he believes that they can repair the situation. Zelensky is, again, he is only focused on his people and his country. He just wants to somehow save them from what he probably can see is coming now that the United States has officially sold its soul to Russia. Man, people are pissed though. Oh my God. TikTok is interesting. But it's not just TikTok, it's the world. So here's a short list of, and this list has probably been updated since I saw this headline. This is a list of countries that have called an emergency summit in Kyiv. Canada, Spain, Sweden, Finland, Norway, Denmark, Iceland, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. They're going to fly there and try to figure this shit out. I'm also hearing rumors that the United States is not invited to the... Shoot, what is that meeting called? Dang it, I'm so sorry. There's a very important, like, financial meeting coming up that it sounds like perhaps the United States is going to be disinvited from that they normally attend. In any case, what Trump and JD Vance, who, like, thanks for the surprise appearance, didn't know you were still alive. What they pulled today has just further shifted the world order. And it's really, really sending this very strong message home that the United States is, like, no longer the United States. The United States has left its own body. And the relationships that we spent centuries building are gone. And frankly, the power of the US dollar is probably on its way out as well. Which brings me to the next headline, which is that fears of a recession or, potentially an eventual depression, depending on what happens here, are at an all-time high as the number for the GDP has been recalculated for this coming quarter, and it's down 1.5%, which again, that doesn't sound like a lot, but tell you what, to the markets, it sure is a lot. So hold on to your 401ks, kids. Again, this is kind of a good time to be pretty poor because it doesn't really fucking matter to the poor people who don't have anything. You don't have anything, you sure don't have anything to lose. You're probably used to dealing with not having anything. Honestly, who this is going to be the hardest on, in some cases, is going to be like the middle class and the upper middle class that have, savings, they have investments. I don't know that people should really be dabbling in the stock market right now. It's kind of a risky bet. I mean, hopefully if you are, you just know what you're doing and you have a way to hedge your bets and you have other kinds of savings. Although who knows, because there's a lot of rumors being floated around that the plan is for them to crash the US dollar so that they can make their stupid fucking Dogecoin the new currency. And I know that sounds far out there, but to be honest with you, with what we're looking at, is it really that far out there? I guess time will tell. This is should have been expected, and I'm sure that no Republican is paying any attention except for, Marco Rubio looks absolutely miserable. He hates Russia. There are some Republicans that are probably, freaking out because they aren't completely insane. Anyways, Russia and China are using this opportunity of all these fired federal workers to recruit spies and people that are willing to sell information to them. Because these federal workers have access to valuable information about US infrastructure and other shit. Confidential fucking shit. It's not good. They're going to offer them a bunch of money, and a lot of these people are probably going to take it. Fuck it. Do they have any loyalty to a country that just ruined their life? No. I'm sure they don't. Honestly, for real. How much do you want to bet? They, maybe 90% of those people say no. They don't need more than 10% to say yes. You think everyone's that good of a person? I used to. I spent way too many years thinking that, and I really don't think that anymore. So it's unreal how fast this is all unraveling now. It's going fast. It's like watching someone code on a table at the hospital, frankly. You're just standing there like, I guess there's nothing we can do to stop this. I don't know. Sometimes there's not. Another piece of the Ukraine story is that now the United States is saying that they're planning to halt all the funding to Ukraine, like the weapons and et cetera. So, I mean, and honestly, like, it was just a matter of time before that happened, because we know this was always the plan. Trump is a Russian asset. Did I tell you guys that story? What is his name? God damn it. Krasnov? Go look that up, please, if you haven't heard this yet. I'm sorry, there's so much information. It's just a fire hose. And sometimes this, again, there's already been 3 things that I'm just spitting out at you that weren't even in my headlines for the night. But a former KGB agent came out and did a story about how Trump has been a Russian agent since, I think, the 80s, I was going to say the late 70s. I think it's the 80s. And that his code name is Krasnov. So go Google that. That'll take up the rest of your night. Social Security is closing the office that's responsible for managing the Social Security website. I actually already went online and I was trying to log in. They're going to have to mail you something in order for you to log in. Go in there and take a snapshot of what's in there now before all this explodes, of what you've paid into it, so you know what you're owed. I mean, probably we're just going to end up lighting that paper on fire later for warmth, but just in case for some reason in the future we still have a world and there's such a thing as a US dollar, you might need that information. So just write it down just in case. I'm sorry. The headlines tonight are like really wild, okay? So I think we talked yesterday, I don't even remember, about the Epstein flight logs and how Pam Bondi made this whole big deal about releasing unredacted version of the Epstein logs, and then actually she just released the same shit that we've already seen. And all of MAGA is screaming at each other about it. I had the unfortunate experience of agreeing with Laura Loomer today. It was very uncomfortable. But listen, she had a point. She said, hey, you guys said you were going to like actually release some new information and you fucking didn't. And then you blamed it on the deep state. But I thought that we controlled the entire government now, and you guys told us you fired all the deep state. So what's up? And honestly, I'm kind of proud of her for posting that, and she's right. And it's because Trump is all over these. Even with what we can see, Trump is recorded on 7 flights to Epstein Island. 7. But I don't think that's all of it at all. Just being honest. I think that's the short, what is it called? Cliff Notes? Does that still exist? That's the Cliff Notes version of what actually happened with Epstein and Trump. I mean, I'm sorry, but like the pervious man on earth, his greatest dream would be the Miss America pageant. And he went back there. I mean, there's so many stories about him. He would go back in the dressing rooms when the girls were naked. And these are like little girls. Anyways, he's a fucking, I run out of words for him. In any case, I know that MAGA doesn't want to know this information. And if it was released to them, they would just make something up about it. But it's in there. I'll tell you that much for free. I'm sure there's more in there that they don't want people to know. But at this point, it shouldn't really, we already know. Like, what's the difference? Trump signed a stupid fucking order to make English the official language of the United States. Imagine watching all of this as a Native American. That's got to be, maybe there's a piece that feels vindicating to them. I sort of hope so. I hope they feel like, you know what? Because the truth about what happened here in the United States is this really couldn't last, could it? I mean, I know they say all empires fall and yada yada. But just karmically speaking, when you build something on such dark karma, when it's stolen and it's you build it on the backs of other people the way that this was built. And I mean, I guess the way that many societies were built in this world in a lot of ways, humans are pretty violent, or at least men are. Sorry, no offense if you're a man, but I'm just keeping it real. I'm just keeping it fucking real. In any case, it's got to be very wild to watch this shit. At least there was something comforting again, and maybe this is a privileged take. I don't know. It felt better maybe to pretend we were moving towards progress. And maybe that was never real. Maybe that was never, obviously it wasn't meant to be because we're here now, like this is the reality of what's happening. That being said, these racist, crazy actions, these just maybe it's cathartic to some groups of people. I don't know. I can't speak for them, but I hope that somehow, I had this thought today and I vacillate between we're all fucked. And you know what? Maybe all this falls apart and something better really does come in its place. Maybe, it's not impossible. And maybe that's all you really need for hope, is to know it's not impossible and to know that we're just going to do everything in our power. And if we do everything in our power, and we lose, then that's just what happened, you know? Then I guess we just die knowing we did everything we could. Speaking of pure, unadulterated evil, the United States has terminated funding for polio, malaria, and HIV treatments. Again, cheers. Okay, so I have an update for you about Pope Francis. It's a little bit confusing because, like, I don't know if they're trying to soften the headlines or if the people with the harsher headlines are getting it wrong, but I'll tell you both versions. So the Pope had a coughing fit and he aspirated vomit. Now that's very serious. That kills a lot of fucking people. In fact, that's like a very normal way for elderly people to die. It can cause all kinds of infections. It's really bad. One article said he was on a ventilator. That's obviously also very serious. Didn't say anything about whether or not he was conscious. Another article said something like he's being supported with gases or something. I'm like, do you mean just like an oxygen mask? Or is he on a ventilator? So you see what I'm saying? Like, I can't tell if one is trying to be like a little bit more cheerful about it and say like, oh, he's just, you know, he just needs some gases right now. Or like if the other is being like, maybe they got it wrong. Anyways, either way, it's a really serious thing, especially for a very elderly person who's already kind of like immunocompromised. Again, I'm not like, my gut is saying like he doesn't have a very long time. And I think that's just like kind of logical. So the Washington Post obviously has had a massive amount of subscription cancellations since Jeff Bezos pulled that stunt the other day. Yeah. I don't know what these Peter Pan ass motherfucking fuckboys think is going to happen. You can't force us to pay attention to you. You can't force us to respect you or like you or listen to you. You can buy as much shit as you want, but you can't make us like give you any respect. And we won't, and we'll just go somewhere else. And I hope that they start to realize that. You know, I think Amazon is harder for people to part ways with because it was very sneaky the way that Amazon made us very dependent during the pandemic and became this fucking behemoth. When there was a time in our lives when Amazon didn't exist and like we didn't use it or need it. You just went to the goddamn store. And I urge people to return to that, but I think for a lot of people, because capitalism takes all of your free time, having things delivered to the house now has become something that we're like dependent on. But perhaps if people get angry enough, that will change. And I know that most people are already trying to like limit what they get from Amazon to the like really bare minimum items, to like things that they can't get elsewhere. So, you know, there's enough people in the world that unfortunately Amazon's going to continue. Like, we're not going to tank Amazon. But these little dips do make a difference. It does. And if most people can start to buy less stuff, I promise you, overall, it's gonna fuck them up. So this is our last story tonight, and this is kind of a crazy story, to be honest with you. I believe this is the first time in history that this has happened. Mexico sent 29 cartel drug lords to the United States in exchange for a delay in the tariffs. And they sent them with no real stipulations. Like, it sounds like we could prosecute them here. Like, one of them is wanted for the murder of a DEA agent, and it sounds like they're gonna like let him stay here and be prosecuted. So I know that the DEA is celebrating this, and I don't know. Sorry, I just was stopping to think about just the brutality of the way the world has chosen to do business with each other. And again, to me, that's a very like, it's the way that men do things. And I find it unnecessary, and I find it archaic. And I think it's dooming us all to hell. I'm not even exaggerating. I mean, we're like literally living in purgatory right now. The whole world is holding its breath. Like, we're headed into probably a world war unless something changes. The world is splitting into sides right now again. Oh, this is so sweet. I love it when she does that, when she reaches up to touch me. It's very cute. It's very sweet. She said, the world can be splitting into sides and you still have to pet me, bitch. Anyways, I love you guys very much. It's, okay, again, I normally wouldn't say something like this, but I'm just going to. This is an actual fact. It's not, I'm not just like pulling this out of my ass. There's a planetary alignment that's happening, I think tonight. Like this weekend for sure, where all 7 planets are like stringing up in a line or something. I don't know. I've seen a few videos about it from different kinds of sources. It does sort of seem like some crazy shit is happening right now. So whether or not you believe in that, I think we're in for a bit of a weekend. And I think that there's going to be a lot of news again tomorrow. Because that type of narcissistic abuse on a world stage forces people to react. Like, you can't just punk someone. You can't punk an entire country. You can't punk the president of a country on TV like that. You can't fucking do that with no consequences. And the USA is going to be completely isolated by the time this is over. And I don't know if other countries are going to take us back. I don't even know if there's going to be an us to take back. You know what I mean? Anyway. Well, sleep well. Sleep well. I don't know. You might need to, you know what? Maybe if we're going to go backwards in history, we can convince them to bring back, there used to be those like old timey medications. It was like weed, heroin, cocaine. I'm not kidding. Go look it up. There's like bottles of this shit. Or like, you know, it had the like label on it. I can't take it, but you can. All right. Love you guys. Good night.